What's up, lore masters? It is ironic to me when I look at the United States political landscape, and the world really, and see both the far right and far left elements becoming basically a different side of the same coin. So I guess it's apropos that I begin a series on the Earth Alliance Civil War, because I sincerely feel that I see elements of President Clark in both the far left and far right. And most alarmingly, those who I would deem quote-unquote in the middle seem to be justifying the actions of either side, just whichever one they moderately agree with, not realizing what they are ultimately supporting. But we'll be discussing those elements in future videos. Let's take a look at Babylon 5 itself specifically. After the devastating impacts of the Earth-Minbari War, a series I've actually done something about, check in the right-hand corner to take a look at that, humanity did what it ultimately did best, which is to say, community building. The Earth Alliance brought together the species of the universe to create the Babylon Project. This, of course, wouldn't come without some resistance to the initiative by forces seemingly unknown, as the first 3 Babylon stations were destroyed due to sabotage, and the 4th disappeared into the ether. The humans, not easily deterred, continued on and ultimately constructed Babylon 5. The construction was completed in 2257. The station was located deep in neutral space as to not give benefit to any one nation. It was a port of call for refugees, smugglers, businessmen, diplomats, and travelers from hundreds of worlds. It could be a dangerous place, but most accepted the risk because Babylon 5 was to be the last, best hope for peace. To the galaxy, Babylon 5 was a dream given form, a dream of a galaxy without war, when species from different worlds could live side by side in mutual respect. While Babylon 5 was meant to be a place for the galaxy to come together and make peace, it was, at its core, still an Earth Alliance outpost. At first, this didn't make much difference as the Earth was dedicated to the mission of peace and diplomacy. However, it is worth noting that everything Babylon 5 offered ultimately came at the promise of an Earth Force uniform. As stated, Babylon 5 was a trade station, diplomatic harbor, and command post. The station was located at Epsilon 3 near a local jump gate, allowing access from any jump-capable species. The O'Neill-class station was massive. Most resources state that the habitation cylinder itself was 5 miles long. Babylon 5 was manned by upwards of 6,500 Earth Force crew and administrators. The station would have an additional 5,000 technicians not affiliated with Earth Force directly and up to 1,500 dock workers from the Dock Guild. The station could hold up to 250,000 inhabitants that could work or live there, though generally Babylon 5 was just a stepping stone to other ventures for most that visited it. The station would initially have outdated weapons and sensor systems. These systems would be upgraded to become a formidable threat to most any species that would threaten the station. These defensive systems included twin particle arrays, particle laser cannons, pulse laser cannons, and plasma cannons. Additionally, the station had roughly 8 to 12 meters worth of an armored hull and, as stated, was upgraded to a Mark II defense grid. Ironically, finding resources on the fighter wing and auxiliary ship complement for the station is proving difficult. From what I can tell, Babylon 5 could maintain up to 4 squadrons of Star Furies with a complement of auxiliary craft, including shuttles, at around 20. How many squadrons exist on Babylon 5 is somewhat confusing, given that dialogue and what is seen on screen doesn't always mesh. This likely due to money constraints from what can be shown with the CGI. What does appear to be a consensus, though, is that 4 squadrons is roughly 48 Star Furies, give or take, and this was ultimately stationed at Babylon 5. The station was divided into 6 color-coded sections, which included red, blue, green, brown, yellow, and gray. Red sector is the largest part of the station's rotating section and was effectively the commerce area. It would include businesses, hotels, arms cells, restaurants, and more. Blue sector was the forward segment and was located aft of red sector. This area housed critical station systems including control centers, Cobra bays, and CNC. It also had the docking bay, customs, embarkation, and the observation dome. Most of blue sector would be restricted to Earth Alliance personnel only. Green sector was utilized for the diplomatic corps and housed the delegates from other worlds. It would also be where command personnel would sleep. Green sector would additionally have its own route to MedLab. Brown sector was utilized for industrial processes and waste reclamation. Because do you get it? Because it's brown. Waste reclamation. It's so funny. It's so fucking funny. Brown sector was aft of green sector and fore of gray sector. A section of brown sector was also to be utilized as a secondary commerce department, but was never finished. Yellow Sector, the largest sector of those listed, was where all of the zero-gravity sections would exist. Most of the sector would be for cargo facilities and held the bulk of the station's supplies. It was where the primary fusion core and fuel tanks were located. There would also be labs allowing for variable gravity research. The sector was connected to both Blue and Gray Sector via linkages that powered the station's rotation. Gray Sector was the furthest of the carousel aftward. It was located next to Brown Sector and had atmosphere monitoring, alpha power stations, fabrication furnaces, and maintenance facilities. Gray Sector would never be completed due to budgetary concerns and was restricted to command, security, and maintenance personnel. Babylon 5 was connected via central corridors allowing travel throughout the station. Denizens could also use the core shuttle and monorail, which allowed for rapid transit from one part of the station to the other. Living quarters would be located in most sectors, with the cost being based on size. The larger the place you live, the more that it would cost for you to own it. Interestingly, due to the size of Babylon 5, it would have its own economy. This would largely assist in the maintaining of the station. When Babylon 5 basically committed treason and disassociated itself with Earth Force, the economy would become vital in its upkeep. Before the break with Earth Force, Babylon 5 would receive a budget from Earth itself. Interestingly, this budget allowed the station to provide free or reduced docking fees, a perk that would be revoked as soon as Earth Alliance stopped paying the bill. Curiously, life on the station would be what we would expect of any city of that size that had a large military base near it. The upper echelon would include the diplomats, well-to-dos, and the military. You would then have the tradesmen, and ultimately you would continue down the rung until the dredges of society. Though for Babylon 5, these people would be known to reside in the quote-unquote down below. While this was a brief breakdown, it is important to get the basics out of the way to better understand the rest of the series I'm about to do. Babylon 5 would be ground zero for the toppling of the Clark administration. However, no one is without sin. While we break down the Earth Alliance Civil War, and again the toppling of the Clark regime, we'll delve into both sides, including how Sheridan and Babylon 5 somewhat became that of which they hated. But that'll be in the coming month or so. What are your thoughts on Babylon 5 and its story arc? How do you feel about Babylon 5 specifically when it comes to their rebellion? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, remember guys, in the end, we're all just a story. Make yours a good one.